actually the girl's natural mom, Sarah, and little baby Emma. She died, what her death certificate said was uterine congestion resulting in disease of the spine.
Ah.
And she passed away when Lizzie was 2.5, and she sat little Emma. Well, Emma was 10 years older, but she sat little Emma on her lap and she said, "Promise me you will always take care of baby Lizzie." And she did. You know, Emma took that very seriously. She always took really good care of her baby sister.
Now at this time, wasn't Andrew working as a mortician? He was an undertaker, he had a side
He
business?
didn't do a lot as an undertaker, like he didn't embalm the bodies or anything like that, but he could build coffins, and he also would rent out the chairs for the funerals and things like that.
Very much a self-made man.
Yeah, he really was. He, you know, I guess his family had squandered the business, and he said, "You know what, I'm gonna build this business back up," and he did, because he was worth a lot of money when he passed away, so he really, you know, he was a very, a wealthy man. And then we also have some of Lizzie's books. It's kind of cool because the one on the bottom has her initials L.E.B. So you can see how she would put her initials in the front of all her books. And we also have a sketch of the ship that she took on her trip to Europe. And it's kind of ironic too, because Lizzie always liked to travel. And they found out, well, we found out that after she was acquitted in October, she went to the Chicago World's Fair. Now, I didn't realize, but H.H. Holmes, the serial killer, that's the spot where he was plucking his victims from. Lizzie was there at that time. And the way I found out was the fact that my,
The Cynthia is mentioned in my family tree.
Really?
the SS
Yes.
I
Is
saw
it
your
really?
reaction there, you,
Wow.
Yeah, that's
connection.
that's where they came from. Yeah, they came out of Liverpool to
Really?
come here. Yeah, on the Cynthia. Yeah, on the Cynthia. Yeah, on the Cynthia.
See, isn't that funny? Weird
That's
stuff like that
weird.
always happens.
Yes,
with these
another
really
coincidence,
ironic
yeah.
stuff.
I'd like to
Yeah.
hear you saying that, Dave,
That's
too.
crazy.
Dave, if you wouldn't mind saying that.
Well, did she finish what she was saying?
No, by all means.
No, I'm sorry.
I know, but I just,
No, that's great though. That's so
Yeah,
cool
just-
We'll
that
finish
that happened.
with you,
but-
Yes.
and then we'll get some footage of you with your reaction to
Yeah,
what you
that's
found.
great. No, I was just gonna say that a friend of mine had given me some original newspaper articles from a newspaper in Iowa, and they chronicled the trial. And next to all the articles about the trial was the things about the Chicago World's Fair. And he was the one that pointed it out to me. He said, "You know what's going on at the same time?" And then afterwards I found out that Lizzie had attended that in October after she was acquitted. So that was another kind of little ironic thing. And a lot of people love H.H. Holmes. It's so funny because I talk about that when I get up here, and I'll say, "You know, H.H. Holmes," and a lot of people, like, their eyes like light up. Yes. Like, you know, they like their serial killers, but
yes.
yeah. So it's kind of ironic. I thought.
What have you experienced here in this room, Lizzie?
This room, a lot of activity as well. I was investigating here one night. My friend was there, I was here, and her daughter was here. This was quite some time ago. And I knocked on that side of the bed, and I said, "Can you do this?" And then a couple minutes later on this side, and I knocked on that side. A couple minutes later on this side, you heard a scratching. And my friend's daughter was so scared, she jumped across the bed and into my lap. She always wanted something to happen, but when it would happen, she was frightened. And then I was doing my evening tour. I had a couple of girls staying in that room, and we go through the whole house, you know, in the evening from when we do our evening tour. And I told them not to lock the door because we were going to go through, and we got up here and the door was locked. They freaked out. They were like, "You told us not to lock it. We didn't lock it. We swear we didn't lock it." I had to go all the way around to unlock it, but I thought that was unusual because of the fact that that's a door that would have been kept locked all the time anyway. So I thought that was pretty cool. You know, my friend Robin was sleeping one night, heard a click, woke up and the lamps were turned on. And that's another thing they do, is they always play with the lights. Now, Leanne will shut off the third floor if there are no guests, but she can see the house from her window, and the lights will get turned back on. So another thing they like to do is play with the lights.
I see. Now, do people actually stay here and sleep in Lizzie's
They
bed?
do. This is where I like to sleep when I sleep alone.
Oh, really?
I sleep so good in this room. It's so comfy. Yeah.
So
I like
you actually
Lizzie
have a
better.
good feeling here? You
I
feel
do.
relaxed and not threatened at all here?
No, I've never felt threatened in this house. I you know, Sue does sometimes, but everybody has different experiences, so it's different for all of us. But I've always felt pretty comfortable here.
Well, it's interesting that at the time of the murders and shortly before, Lizzie was rather respected in the community, from what I understand.
She
She was a
was.
Sunday school teacher.
Mhm.
She was unmarried, or she was a spinster,
Yes.
and 32 years old at the time of the murders.
Yep. Yeah. It was sad because Lizzie always was a huge churchgoer, and back then you would purchase your pew where you sat every Sunday. And after she was acquitted, she went back and she sat in her pew to go to church, and no one would sit. They all got as far away from her as they could. And she was so upset, she never went back to church.
Even though she was acquitted and found innocent.
Yeah, she had a rough time. I think she was lonely. She actually, after she had moved to Maplecroft, she had to hire a companion to travel with her because she didn't have anyone.
Yes.
So it was kind of sad.
Well, Deb, where are we now?
So this is the master bedroom. This would have been Mr. and Mrs. Borden's bedroom. That would have been Mr. Borden's little dressing room. This would have been Abby's dressing room over here. We actually have a picture of Mr. Borden. But people like to leave him change. And then Leanne saves up the money. She calls it Mr. Borden's money. And when she gets enough, she has something done on the house. That's actually how she got the front steps done, she said. So that's pretty cool. But whatever you do not touch his money. I mean, you can touch it, but don't take it because
yes.
he will scratch you. We've had many people get scratched in the house because they try to take Mr. Borden's money. Yeah. And this room was robbed one day in broad daylight. And the thief took Mrs. Borden's purse, Westcott tickets, money, and jewelry. Mr. Borden called the city marshal, Rufus Hilliard, but he called it back a couple days later, asked him to call up the search. He may have known who the thief was. Lizzie was actually a kleptomaniac, a well-known kleptomaniac around town. So Mr. Borden actually used to keep his bedroom door locked after that. That's why he always keeps the key down on the mantle. So it's a little interesting fact.
Didn't he have to pay some fines for her now and then?
Well, that's what people would say. That he would, she would take something. It's kind of weird because after she moved to Maplecroft, now she had inherited half of a small fortune. She actually stole a painting from Tilden Burgers and
Really?
Robbins, and she got caught. Her lawyer took her to court.
I see.
So she still would, kind of do things like that, even after she had a lot of money. So
What have people experienced here? What have you experienced here?
I have not had a lot happen in this room. I did have one day. My daughter came to visit me after she had the baby, and we were just walking around the house, and she was yawning. She was over there. She was yawning. She was so tired. She was like, Mom, I really need a nap. And that door popped open, and there's a cot inside of that.
Really?
There's a cot inside of there. I thought, well, Abby's trying to get you a nap, honey. So Sue had my friend Sue that we were speaking of earlier. One night, there were overnight guests. And I probably can't see it with the camera, but there's a lock over there. You can see the hole where it's been moved to the little hook and eye. There were a couple of ladies that were staying in this room. She had finished her tour, and her and her cousin went downstairs, and they heard all kinds of banging, and they came up, and the ladies actually broke the door down and flew out of the house because they saw the black mist that was sometimes. Well, I haven't seen it, but my friend's seen it quite a few times. And her cousin said, Auntie, didn't you see what you walked through? Because Sue came running up there. She was just worried about the door and the guests. And she came flying in. She didn't realize she walked right through it. So.
Being very familiar with the paranormal, how would you account for the black mist?
It's kind of a mystery to me. I don't know if it's some type of entity or some type of energy. I really don't know what that is. They see a white mist as well. Sometimes in the house. I haven't seen that or the black mist, and I'm not really sure what that could be. Some kind of energy.
Yes.
So I'd like to see it. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, this place is full of energy. You actually visually see orbs
We
going
see
on.
the orbs visually. It's really, it's amazing. It really is.
Hello, everybody.
Look who's joined us.
What's going on? How you been?
Oh,
Tony
yeah.
Ray Desmond and Dustin Barry. Hi.
Good to see you
Very good to
guys.
see you, Sandra.
Welcome to Lizzie
How you
Borden.
been?
Dustin,
Good to see you.
I'm
My son
well,
lives
and
in
you?
Yale.
Nice
Very
to
good,
have
very
you
good.
here. And these
Yeah.
guys are no stranger to the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast.
Yeah,
That's
It's
true.
a local legend. You gotta give it, its respect and kind of pay visits once in a while.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now, you two men have experienced things here as well, right?
I've heard some knocking in the walls last time that I was here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And myself upstairs in the attic where the toy chest is. Last time I was here, we were doing the fundraiser event for Max. And we heard a lot of footsteps coming up and down the hall up there. And some strange knocking through the wall, like Dustin was describing, that we couldn't explain. And just a lot of strange feelings throughout the night. So really cool house. Mix of
Excellent.
everything.
In fact, we're just on our way to the attic. We're going to the upstairs. All right, very good.
Guys ready?
Would you
Enjoy.
mind joining us?
Yeah, we can
Sure.
follow along. Sure.
All
We'll stay out
right,
of the
great.
way.
All right.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Ready?
Follow you, Deb.
Follow her.
Thanks for showing up, guys, really. This is great.
This is really a lot of room in this house.
It is, isn't
Yes,
it?
from outside it doesn't look it. It really,
You're right, it doesn't.
it's like the TARDIS, you know?
This was Bridget's room.
This is
It's cute up here, right? Isn't it nice? Just watch your heads, though.
Yeah,
Nice,
yeah.
their heads on the
You go about right here.
Yeah, be careful.
This is what they
Everybody
call
hits
the
their
rocket
heads
chair
on that
chick who's
My
sitting
grandfather
there.
had a
The
house
rocket
like
chair
this.
It looks like.
Yeah,
Hats
mine
on
too.
their heads.
Oh, yeah,
See,
yeah.
did you hear the story with the rocket chair chick?
What's that?
There's a woman that sits there at night. And
Yeah?
the rocket chair rocks. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't, but you can see the rocket chair move.
Oh, I can visualize that.
So this was Bridget Sullivan's room. We actually have a picture of her on the wall. It wasn't fixed quite as nicely up here when Bridget had it. The rest of the attic was basically just used for storage at the time. And as you can see, the radiators also end up here on the third floor. But she was paid a rather good salary for the time. She paid $4 a week. And in contrast, Mrs. Borden was also given $4 a week, but she had to buy a lot of the household items out of that $4.
Really?
Yeah, now that morning, poor Bridget, she wasn't feeling well either. But Mrs. Borden insisted that she wash all the windows on the first floor of the house. Does sound rather harsh, but Mrs. Borden did do work in the household. She took care of the second floor, which is why she was making up the guest room that following morning. Bridget wasn't actually allowed on the second floor, but it's probably more of a privacy issue than anything else. Now, also that morning, Lizzie went to Bridget, told her about a sale at Sargent's on material, and we actually have a copy of the advertisement right down there. And she said, well, I really like to go, I'm just not feeling up to it. So she actually came up here, lied down on her bed, she had all her clothes and her shoes on. Now she claims at 11 o'clock she heard the clock strike outside. Shortly after, Lizzie came running up the stairs, Maggie, Maggie, come quick, someone's murdered father. Now, Bridget Sullivan was a witness to the prosecution, but she disappeared for 5 years after the trial.
Really?
Yep, some people seem to think maybe Lizzie and Emma had paid her off to go back to Ireland. I don't know. She resurfaced 5 years later in Anaconda, Montana. Married a man named John Sullivan, no relation that we know of, and they never had
Really?
any children. Yep, but she was one of the last people from the case to pass away, so if she knew anything, she took it to her grave with her.
I see.
We actually have a picture of her and John in Montana, and her as she was a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I should mention that my maternal grandfather, Edward Place, lived in this vicinity in Fall River. He lived to be 93 years old. And at the time of the murders, he was rather too young to remember it. He was not quite 5 years old. But certainly growing up here, he remembered the aftermath and what
Oh,
people would
wow.
say throughout the town. And certainly the famous rhyme, which we all know,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Lizzie Borden took
took
an
an
axe.
axe. Gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, gave her father 41. Which of course is historically inaccurate, as you
Right.
described.
But it rhymes. That's
It
what
does,
really matters.
that's it, it rhymes,
Actually,
it's a good solid
Actually, the
rhyme.
father got 10 whacks to the head, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and of course Abby got 19 blows. But what is experienced in here?
This room upstairs here actually has a lot of activity.
Really?
Remember Stu and I were talking about how we hear the whispers in our ears? Well,
Yes.
this is where it happened to me when I was standing right here. And it was so loud, I actually felt like my eardrum like reverberated, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. Leanne was up here one time sleeping, and she woke up and the rocking chair was in front of the bed. And my friend Sue was working one night, and the rocking chair ended up at the top of the stairs.
I'll clear up from there.
So back in the day, this just would have been storage up here on the third floor. But this seems to be the room where the ghost children are really active. We actually have all their little toys over there in the toy box. They love to be read to. A friend of mine, Ben, that used to work here as a school teacher, so when he would come, he would read to the children. He always read to them every night, and they love it. And he was actually, someone was recording, and he must have been pronouncing one of the words wrong. I don't remember what word it was, but they pronounced the word correct.
Oh, really?
You know what
They
I mean?
corrected him?
Yeah, and a lot of times if we say, oh, can you light this up? I'll read you a story if you light it up. So they'll light it up, because they like to have stories. But I work at a preschool, so I love to that
Uh-huh.
anyway, so I love the ghost children.
So you have a lot of patience.
Yeah, so they do like to be read to. They do like to move the items around. So they're quite interactive. Sometimes they'll rattle the doorknobs. My daughter was sitting here with her friend, and they felt the vibration like little feet, like running around the bed.
All right, pitter-patter of little feet.
Yeah, so cute.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, something Dustin and Cody, you experienced here, was this where the knocking was?
Yeah, the last time we were here, we were in this room, we were just kind of doing a session together, and we had asked for any types of knocks in response, things like we normally
Yes, right.
do. And on that wall there specifically, we would knock and knocking would come back. And as we were sitting here, we could hear it and had people on both sides to verify nobody was doing anything. So yeah, it's just interesting. I mean, it's a simple little kid game that you can play, and if there are younger spirits here, it's a way for them to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
The other strange thing was I had a gentleman named Bob Christopher makes these dogs. They're stuffed animals, life-size, and they have all sensors built into them. And I actually have it in my car. But I had one set up right here, and in correlation with the knocking, once in a while this dog would go off and start activating, which was pretty neat. And I've had that thing for many years, and it's very rare for that to happen. So that was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I heard that.
I heard that too.
Is someone demonstrating, or is
So, yeah.
that knocking?
Well, they're in here.
That knocking's going from
In
there.
that
It
same
sounds like
place?
it's right in, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's
That's
right there.
exactly what we
That's
heard.
what was going on. That's what was going on when we were here.
So
Yeah.
they're demonstrating for you.
Yes, that's proof there.
Yeah.
I love it.
A little welcome back, perhaps.
Well, it's great to be here.
We have to get the dog
There's
out.
some
and see what
there's some
happens.
squeaking going on up in here too. Up in the
Yeah.
ceiling.
There he goes again.
That's exactly what.
They want you to bring the
noises.
dog, they're saying Cody brings the dog.
Yeah, so that's. Do you mind if we open this, Deb? Just to take a look?
Just a
Yeah.
closet. Just
Just
empty
a
closet.
stowaway bed there. And very strange.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Can't
That's what
explain
I call
it.
verification.
Sure. So this is the creepy basement. So when the Bordens had it, their old privy would have been there. And there's a room in the back left over there where they had found the handleless hatchet and an old box of tools, which is what they thought was the murder weapon, but then it was never proven conclusively to be the murder weapon. So after the murders had occurred that night, Lizzie was here and Uncle John Morse was with the girls and Alice Russell stayed with them. Of course, Emma was here. And there was also a police detective on the premises. Now, he claims that he saw Lizzie come downstairs to use the privy with Alice Russell, went back upstairs, came back down here later by herself, went into that room and leaned over and did something, and we still to this day don't know what she did, because the only thing that was in that room were the bloody clothes.
Yeah.
They just took the bloody clothes off the bodies, and then they put them all over there.
Now, these women, Lizzie and her sister, Emma,
Mm-hmm,
they were staying here alone in this house.
mm-hmm,
Now, I know there were police outside
mm-hmm.
patrolling, but supposedly there's a dangerous murderer around. And the two women, they're staying here with bloody clothes there. The autopsy had been done on the dining room table. And they're just staying here by themselves.
Yes, I know it. And Emma actually cleaned up the blood herself.
She did.
She cleaned it all.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder how much evidence was actually lost that they may not have considered evidence at the time.
So true. Right, right. Well, we have had a lot of activity down here. The shadow figure that I see, I usually see in that room over there. We actually saw him last night going through the laser grid when we had it set up. So I've seen him down here. Poor Leanne, the owner, has gotten a finger run right down her back when she, because our washer and dryer over there, because we're a bed and breakfast, and she came in to do her laundry, and a finger went right down her back.
Really?
Over by the bulkhead is where Sue had heard someone, the growl in her ear, very loud. We were down here investigating one night, and we kept hearing footsteps, and they kept sending me up to look, and I'm like, there's nobody up there. And my daughter was sitting there, and her friend was sitting there, and I went in that room to set up a camera, and all of a sudden, everybody was screaming. I guess the footsteps started to come down the stairs. My daughter's friend was sitting here. My daughter said it was funny. It was like a cartoon. She was so scared her feet were going, but she couldn't move because she was so terrified.
Really? Oh,
Yeah. So, yeah, this basement has a lot of activity. And Martha McGinn, whose grandma, this was her grandma's home, so she had a lot of experiences. And when she was younger, she came down and she saw the woman in period clothing floating across the floor. So we do get a lot down here. We have a lot of things going on. Have you heard about the face in the wash tub?
No, I have not.
Oh, I have to show you that.
Yes.
I
yeah.
think it'll show up on camera too.
All right.
So do you want to see it?
Yes, yes, by all means.
Okay. So this is the wash tub where Bridget used to do the laundry. So if you look in there and you take a picture with your camera, with a flash, you'll see a face against the back wall. I think it kind of looks like Mr. Borden. And I don't know if it's anything paranormal, but a psychic friend of ours believes it might be like a psychic impression. And I don't know if it'll show up in your camera, but if you flash the light, you should be able to see it. I know with your cell phone or your camera. Have you ever done this down here? You take the picture and it comes out, you see the face.
No,
really cool.
it's been many years since we've been here, and I don't recall that at all.
Do you have your cell phone?
Yeah.
Snap a picture with the flash and you'll see the face.
Yeah, can you use your? It's easier to see from far away because I can see it very clearly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see it in here, too.
Can you see it in there
Yep.
with the reflection?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh, holy cow, that was
Very
creepy.
interesting.
Isn't it cool?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like in the brick, so it's pretty cool.
Can you point out where the bloodstains are allegedly?
Well, they would be over in that direction, that middle room, like
Okay.
underneath where the sofa would have been. So, I think, I'm not positive, but I think right over here would be where the sofa is, or maybe.
Okay.
See where the
Yes, it'd be
ducks are
right under
going?
here, yes.
Like right over here.
Yeah. Now, this wood has been sprayed with luminol when a forensic scientist was here. He actually sprayed this with luminol, and you can actually see the blood stains that seep through the wood down here when illuminated with fluorescent light.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Blood stains illuminated with fluorescent light, sprayed with luminol. The handle is
Do you know they have that at the Historical Society, right?
They have that original one.
Yeah, so cool.
Really?
Interesting.
They have a whole Lizzie Borden room. They even have the summer contents from the autopsy. Yeah.
Do they?
Yeah,
Have it
and the little
displayed there?
slides, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they have a great display. They have a whole Lizzie Borden room.
Mhm.
It's really neat, all the evidence from the trial. Because when the prosecutor passed away, he took it and he put it in a trunk in his attic. When he passed away, his granddaughter found it and she donated it to the Historical Society. So it was really
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have read the autopsy reports, and of course they describe Abby as a very well-nourished female, rather stout.
Right on the other side of this wall, there used to be a shelf, and it was right on that shelf over there was where they would have found the handleless hatchet. And an old box of tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where the handleless hatchet was found.
Mhm.
And I believe it was introduced in the court during the trial, but not proven to be a murder weapon.
Yeah.
And it was in a box with other tools in it.
Mhm.
Why am I thinking, did I see a movie or something, or another documentary where they picked it up out of, like dirt or ash or something?
Well, they were showing it actually on, I've seen it on TV when they've shown it, shown closest on it. But,
One of the reasons that it caught their eye was that it looked like it had been rubbed in ashes, so maybe that's what you're thinking, to make it look
Yes.
old like the other tools, and it had on it what appeared to be blood and hair. But when they analyzed it, the blood turned out to be rust and the hair turned out to be from a cow. So maybe it's the ashes thing that you're thinking of.
Right.
That's probably what it is, yeah. Yeah.
during the actual trial, a very dramatic moment when they introduced the skull of Andrew Borden. And Lizzie did not show much emotion during the trial, but there was one point where they introduced Andrew's skull. They took a hatchet, I believe it was the handleless hatchet, and showed how the wound, the blade would have gone through the skull. Lizzie jumped up and swooned and fell backwards in a dead faint and had to
I
be
think-
carried out.
I think many women of the day, and even in this day, would have that
Exactly.
reaction.
And the only other time during the trial when she showed any degree of emotion was when she was acquitted. They pronounced the sentence and she was acquitted,
Sure.
the judgment, and she broke down sobbing. Well, this has been a fascinating time here at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast, which wasn't always a bed and breakfast. But we do want to thank you very sincerely for your wealth of knowledge, Deb, and taking us through this fabulous house. I would love to stay here overnight.
Oh, you guys definitely have to come back and do an
Oh,
overnight
that would
with
be
us.
wonderful.
It is so much fun, yeah.
Very interesting house, very interesting.
It's fascinating.
And because of the connection with my family, my family's actually buried in Oak Grove Cemetery on my mother's side,
Wow, that's
right next to
amazing.
the Bordens. They're the place, the Darlings, the Greens, right, you can see them right from the Borden plot.
Yeah.
And we have a sister-in-law.
Yes,
Who's related
sister-in-law
to.
Nancy,
Wow,
yeah,
that's
who's
amazing.
blood relation to Lizzie Borden.
Wow.
And Dave finding that picture of that ship that's actually in his family history as well.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
We do
Thanks for
appreciate it very, very
coming.
much.
It was a
This
wonderful
so much
tour.
fun. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed
Very
it.
informative.
Good, thank you for coming.
And for Ghosts R N.E.A.R, I'm Keith Johnson.
I'm Sandra Johnson.
And Deb Vickers.
Thank you for joining us. Blessings. Good night.
Good night.